Hello and welcome to another edition of XFeed. Today, if this is your first time tuning in, we talk about the landscape of Web3, crypto, NFTs, all of that fun jazz. We have a whole bunch of videos to go through more specifically today. Normally we read thoughts, go through different things, try to highlight different aspects and happenings across the space. And for whatever reason today, it just seems to be a whole bunch of different video pieces from mainstream news as well, just talking about how absolutely massive everything is seeming to line up. So without further ado, let's get into it. Brian Armstrong, the CEO of Coinbase, here on CNBC.
New types of investments and asset classes, capital formation, credit, like all these things can get reinvented, made more efficient in the crypto world. And that's ultimately what we're trying to do. We're trying to create more economic freedom in the world and update the financial system.
And that's what's happening right now. And luckily, we got a couple of people out there paying attention to keep you informed. And if you've been using a wallet in crypto, there is probably like a 95% chance or higher you probably started out using MetaMask. Now, there's a lot of people that have gone on to use other different wallets, but guess what's coming for MetaMask?
Will MetaMask have a token at some point, maybe in the near future?
The MASK token is coming. It may come sooner than you would expect right now. And it is significantly related to the decentralization of certain aspects of the MetaMask platform.
That's like the marriage thing when we're like married to our bags because, well, we pretty much are until like things like this happen or it works out. But holy smokes, the MetaMask token is coming. One thing to kind of reiterate on this that you've probably seen on the timeline if you're not somebody who's super active on social, what's happened is the announcement came out from this clip. It's gone massively, massively viral. I think this has like 1 million views or something crazy to it. And the reception immediately was nothing but positivity. And then it went down to, oh, hold on a second. Well, MetaMask has like 100 million plus users. You break that down. Well, that airdrop might not be worth a whole lot to individuals. And I guess my caveat to that, or like my argument, is what quantifies a user to be eligible for this MetaMask airdrop? Is it simply having a wallet? Is it doing the in-app swap instead of using SushiSwap, Uniswap, CowSwap, any of the different platforms out there to swap tokens? Are they going to base it off of if you've done trading on MetaMask? And I would make the argument that I think a lot of people actually don't use MetaMask by default. They've gone out to one of those other platforms that I've mentioned. So there's a chance. I think that it's not going to be as horrific as people seem to think. And think about how many wallets people have out there. Like even if you're saying like 100 million, let's just say every person has like 2. So you're immediately cutting that in half. And then, there's a lot of people that have several. So then again, maybe we could cut it in a quarter and a half from a half and a half. True. The RWA SegMints Podcast, we did an interview with Jay from Play Solana, who was out there building a gaming device, which is super neat. I'm just going to bring it up on the screen because I guess I should probably do that so you can kind of get an idea of what exactly this thing looks like. So pretty much just like a Game Boy, but imagine this for crypto games. So I asked him, so is this for like crypto native people or is this for people that haven't touched crypto at all? With this gaming device, do you lean into that Web3 complexity, or do you think that if you hand it to anybody on the street, they'd be able to figure out how to get it up and running and start playing a game?
Our goal is definitely to onboard more Web2 people into Web3, and we think this device can be a good point of entry. We do have complexity in terms of being a Web3 device because it's also an hardware wallet. Basically, you'll get to know the basics through the device, but like I said, I think it's a great starting point.
Phenomenal. So if you want to find out more about Play Solana, you're able to go check out what they're doing. I thought that's at zero. They're not even following anybody. That's crazy. But they've said that they're having a token that's coming soon. And I don't know. We've seen the Solana mobile phone. We're seeing this device. The team has 20 plus years building hardware devices. It's very, very interesting. So OpenSea, they have their weekly newsletter titled This Week in Web3 NFTs, Decentraland, Brian Brinkman, Amex, and more Web3 news. I feel like we just haven't heard anything around Decentraland. So Decentraland hosts Art Week 2025 with global digital artists. That's kind of cool. They have Sarah Shakel, Johanna Jaskowska, Amber Vittoria, Clara Baku, Mika Al Hadef. People have crazy names out there, but Decentraland doing an art show. I feel like I haven't seen a single thing about that. MetaMask prepares the MAS token, which we just went over. Brian Brinkman launches subscription-style NFT project on Ethereum. This has been a conversation for a while, with the fact that royalties are kind of diminished from a lot of the marketplaces saying, hey, we're not going to enforce creator royalties. So the thought is, well, what if you can have a subscription sort of, maybe you bought the NFT, you get that access for like a year. And then if there is more or something that's valuable, you do it on kind of a subscription model, which I think is very, very cool. American Express plans to launch a travel app on September 18th for iOS that brings together booking tools, destination guides, and trip management. One highlight is Amex Passport, a digital stamp book that records international trips as collectibles on a public blockchain. The app will also show estimated time waits for Centurion Lounge access. Again, to repeat myself for a bajillion times, a lot of the Web3 components of things are just meant to be hidden, and that will happen eventually. MoonPay acquires Meso Network to expand payments reach. Mergers acquisition. Link Home launches platform for buying U.S. real estate with crypto. There's your little bit of RWA news. Ledger brings enterprise crypto tools to iOS with Tron support. Whole bunch of different things. PayPal officially launches peer-to-peer crypto payments and messaging apps. We go down the list. There's still even more to that, but again, we just have headline after headline. Some of it's, maybe not as exciting, but a lot of it is very intriguing. Get ready to lose your job, says Fred Krueger. So for driving, they're thinking that, and I don't know where these stats came from, right? We're just looking at this. Maybe this is your terrifying moment of the day, but actually super insane to think of, like, what does society, the workforce, everything look like in a couple of years. So for driving, self-driving becomes ubiquitous. 12 million drivers unemployed. Uber, Lyft, trucking is dead. And they seem to think that on this article that it's going to happen in 2028 to 2030. For doctors, AI diagnoses better, prescriptions perfectly, never forget symptoms. MDs become liability managers. And they think that's going to happen in 2027. So like literally we're like almost a year and a half out from that one happening. And I remember seeing at a point too, there was, I don't know if it was a Reddit thread or people just posting online saying, like as a doctor, it's really weird that I have somebody come into the room and now tell me everything that they've read on ChatGPT prior to coming in, and they've done all this research, and then I have to answer them. And then you say, well, that's a doctor. And then you're also like, well, hold on. They got to reference notes. They got to remember a lot of different things. And then the liability component, then you learn about that. And then you're like, we're going in circles here. And it just goes down this list. Like, it's pretty crazy. So if you want to pause the stream for a second, read those and look at it, and you can be like, oh my goodness. Well, there you go. Thrilled to welcome Snoop Dogg to Stuff.io cap table and advisory board, joining legends Mark Cuban and Charles Hoskinson that are both crypto big players. Now, what's sort of interesting about this is Stuff.io. I highlighted it before, but they did a Bored Ape Yacht Club documentary. They had it where access was available through purchasing one of the it's essentially like a raffle ticket to win a Bored Ape, and it costs like $100. They had like okay sales on it, but it felt like sort of expensive. Like I don't getting access to any sort of like show. I don't know if I've ever spent more than, $20-$30 sort of situation. So 100's a lot, but again, the raffle for the Bored Ape, that's now done. Very intrigued to see what methods they go to, like getting the documentary more eyes, because I think that it's a really cool concept. But own your stuff. Creators of the media token own the digital media you buy, building the future of digital media for creators and consumers. They mentioned Death Row Records, but again, Mark Cuban, Snoop Dogg, a lot of people wanting to go in there to help own digital media. And what else does that look like? Well, TMA highlighting the fact that over on Doodles for digital media, they have a kind of whirlwind of stuff that's going on, and highlighting the fact of, it's hard to keep track, but maybe these visuals are a little bit better, where they've done partnerships with McDonald's, Red Bull, G-Shock, Arizona Iced Tea, Adidas, Fruit Loops, Rubik's Cubes. If you remember when they did that mint previously and people were trying to get the one-of-one Doodles Rubik's Cube, highlighted the fact that they bought Golden Wolf as like their creative agency, and you can go down the list, and again, pause the stream if you want. You can just see the massive, massive amount of things, but again, 2 million across socials. 3.5 billion views on the Dollsville and the Doodleverse, and then 86 million songs streamed from their partners. So Meta, formerly Facebook, showing off some of these glasses. They have like a little bit of a glitch at the beginning here, but it's just Mark Zuckerberg talking, and you can see in real time, it will give captions of exactly what he's saying. Does this create like the biggest tourism boom ever? Obviously, money's a question when traveling abroad, but I would argue that there's a lot of people that avoid doing that because they know that language barrier is a thing. Imagine if that is no longer a thing, you just have to wear glasses and you can understand what the other person is saying. Now, this obviously has to get widely adopted because you'll need some kind of reference to be able to talk back and forth, but we've seen multiple different like crazy interactions regarding translation, so the languages become irrelevant. Maybe that's a crazy hot take of the day. So the hockey season's back underway. The Quebec Hockey League, Ontario Hockey League, there's a whole bunch of other things that are going on. But what's hilarious about this is it was like the broadcaster's parent that won the 50-50, and it was like a $37,000 50-50. So I'm going to play the audio, but not the visual because I'm going to get copyright striked or whatever. But listen to this.
Hey, look at this, Seth. 50-50's $37,770.
My mom won the 50-50.
Are you serious?
I'm not joking. My mom won the 50-50. Oh my gosh.
We need a big Mary.
David just came up and showed me. My mom won the jackpot. No way.
No way. And speaking of no way, listen to this price prediction.
In mind, but 95% of the world doesn't own Bitcoin. So I just think that there's still a huge demand versus supply imbalance, meaning there's a lot more potential buyers of Bitcoin over the next 10 years. And so I think there's a lot of upside into year end.
Into your like 150 target.
Yeah, 150, maybe 200, even 250 this year.
What? 150 to 200 to even 250. And what's your? You don't have a terminal price on that, do you?
Well, it's I think at a minimum it should have the same network value as gold. And if you look at above ground gold, it's probably 23 trillion. So that would be 1.2 million for Bitcoin. But I think Bitcoin is more valuable than gold. So, gold, Bitcoin could be 2 million, 3 million long term. Even higher.
All right. Are you feeling bullish yet, or are we just hanging out? The Doodles founder says they are training an AI model to proliferate the brand at a seemingly impossible speed. So 86 million listens that we just looked at, the Golden Wolf Studio, and a whole bunch of other massive partnerships.
We're training an LLM on the last 3 years of all of our work that we've made with Golden Wolf, so that we can proliferate the brand at a seemingly impossible speed, but it's still studio grade. We've been sort of around our computers just gasping at how good it is. It's better than I could draw. We can't just take 3 weeks to make a reel and post those on Instagram. We'll go out of business if we do that. We need to be able to talk about the CEO at the Coldplay concert right now, and it needs to look like Doodles. We're training an LLM on.
So very interesting, and I would sort of agree with this, and it's very interesting because I was watching a video the other day about what do you do to grow your YouTube channels and all these tips and tricks videos and whatnot, and there was a comment somebody made to somebody about, hey, I'm an animator. For me to do the tips that you're saying, I have to go out, draw these things, produce it. I'm not going to be able to do X amount of videos to that same quality, uploading, whether it be once a week, 2 times a week, 3 times, whatever the requirement was said in one of the person's suggested videos. And, that made me think back to watching this. It's you know what? You're totally right. And the way that Pudgy penguins have created the GIFs that seem to be relevant for any situation, that's really cool. And generally speaking, that is, just a penguin with a trait and then a caption under it. But to have a fully immersive experience, and even they showed this character that was spinning around with some of these different things and having the trait that requires a lot of extra effort. So if there is AI that can just do that, and if it is the higher studio grade, how many other brands are going to want to be a part of that? And is that for their own, only for Doodles? Are they going to try to sell that? There's a lot of very interesting things. As is this. So I guess for Solana, there was somebody that pitched a reality show. So here's like 30 seconds of it.
I'm looking to let very loose on this trip. Oh, it's a tire busted? It's busted.
So on the way back, right, where do I start? With the buggy. Oh, wait.
Peer-to-peer transaction.
So there's like a reality show that's created, and so this person responded to it, and I hadn't actually seen it, but it said, instead of funding this kind of stuff, how about the Solana Foundation produces a report on how much Solana Foundation holds in their wallet address, whatever. But what you've consistently seen on the timeline is people recommending, saying, if you do content, if you do anything, like try to pitch out to these foundations and see if you can get funding for things, because there's a lot that ends up getting passed for networking, for highlighting different things. And I mean, listen, if you got a group of people and you're like, we want to do a reality TV show and it's going to be like highlighting crypto, well, I mean, hell yeah. We've seen that before, right? With like Mario, and there was Wendy O, and there was other people that were doing like a Dragon's Den sort of thing within crypto. I feel like nothing happened with it. It was like very hyped up leading into it, and then as soon as it launched, I feel like I just didn't see a single thing about it. So maybe reality shows aren't the most efficient at onboarding people, but we'll see what happens with that one. Robbie Ferguson from Immutable. I swear this guy makes me more bullish every single day. Today, we're launching the Immutable Mobile Gaming Division, a specialist task force hell-bent on breaking games into the 121 billion mobile market. Since April, we've already taken 3 games to the #1 rank on mobile stores. Now you want the charts to be dominated by Immutable. New products, new enterprise, new investments. Turn your notifications on. And I have to say, it is wild watching Robbie continually posting all these things, and there's a lot of other people that are in charge of like pretty massive platforms that are just like not giving out those kind of, hey, pay attention to what we're doing here. And again, Robbie making me bullish. So if you can only pick one, which one are you going for? These are 4 tokens that are potentially 3 of them very likely within this year. We're not really sure. This top one here is Base, which Base said that they are looking at doing a token, which was originally not pitched or not had the idea. We know that Abstract token is coming at some point. I think that we're expecting Q4, but I don't know if that's like 100% like solidified. Could have room to move. We just watched MetaMask announce that their token is coming soon, and we know that OpenSea is doing theirs within like the next 2-ish months, roughly. So a lot of potential liquidity coming into the market, as is the NFT strategy. If you missed this, on yesterday's stream and the stream, I believe the day before, we highlighted how there was a punk strategy token. And the concept of it was that you buy this token and there is a buy and sells tax on it, and fees go towards purchasing the underlying NFT, which was CryptoPunks. But NFT Strategy, the creator of this punks strategy token, was basically like, hey, we're going to offer this for any other NFT collection that wants to do that. And so right away, within the first 25 minutes, there was about 55 ETH generated for apes, 36 ETH generated for Pudgy penguins, 22 ETH for moonbirds, 8.8 ETH for meebits, and CDB is deployed late. I know what that one, you guys know what that one is. Think about C. They've purchased 3 apes so far. So we've seen a huge uptick in purchases on NFT volume. Like if you go on like any NFT platform and you look for like top sales, whatever, all these collections are pretty much up there. But of course, welcome to crypto, where there's always something that ends up happening kind of funky. Bad news, the ape strategy token, again, it's punk strategy, ape strategy, go down the list. Token paid 200 ETH for these 11 apes that are worth about 107. Hold on a second. So you paid 90 ETH over value? Good news, these 11 apes will be off the market for a while. So the fees that are used to generate the collectible buys it and then immediately prices it at like 1.2x the floor. So with a couple of these ones going for, as you can see here, like 15, 33 when the floor is at like 9. That is going to be, you're going to have a crazy run up for those to end up being sold. But it does take them off the market, which is a very interesting perspective and maybe a win, but also the fact that like 90 ETH was like just used to purchase something higher, because you need to have somebody that triggers it and they can pick which one, and if there's enough in the pool, and it's supposed to balance over time, and it's like, this is why people get confused around crypto. I'm telling you what's going on, brother. How we doing? Breaking: X announces it is taking strong action against a bribery network targeting its platform. In quotes, suspended accounts involved in crypto scams and platform manipulation paid middlemen to attempt bribe employees to reinstate their suspended accounts. That feels like that wasn't English. X is exposed and is taking strong action against a bribery network targeting our platform. Suspended accounts involved in crypto scams and platform manipulation paid middlemen to attempt to bribe employees to reinstate their suspended accounts. Okay, right. That's what they did. They bribed. These perpetrators exploit social media platforms like Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Minecraft, and Roblox, and are linked to wider criminal organizations, including whatever the COM is. Legal proceedings are underway against participants, and we're fully supporting law enforcement. Our commitment to ensure our platform's integrity is absolute. So I guess if there was a large network of people that like did bad things in crypto, and then their account got suspended, and then somehow they had a connection at X, and then they paid them. Trying to like fully understand what the hell happened. NBA star Kevin Durant, what has he got to say here? And he's apparently talking about crypto.
My understanding is that you hooked him on Bitcoin very early. Is that true? Are you the responsible party?
Sure, he knew about Bitcoin, but I gave him a little nudge. Yeah.
You give him a how did you give?
No, he didn't. He called me in like 2014, 15. We got on a call with our business manager at the time, who just like shut it down and was like, "You guys, like, stop."
Hold on. Go backwards. So you how did you learn about Bitcoin?
Just scrolling on YouTube, to be honest. Can't lie to you. And then I just seeing so many videos of seminars of people like this talking about cryptocurrency and how's the future of the world. And I was always into like futuristic, the new technology coming, how our world can change, and I felt like that was something that could be consistent and can last. And I mean, here we are now, 10 years later, we're still talking about it.
I lost him some money because had we bought it at that point in 2014, 15, but about a year later, right when he signed with the Warriors, Ben Horowitz hosted a dinner for Kevin for his birthday, and the whole Warriors team came. And at the end of that night, I was like, Kevin, I just heard the word Bitcoin 25 times this evening. And the next day, we started investing in Bitcoin. And fortunately, we've yet to be able to track down his Coinbase account info, so we've never sold anything, and his Bitcoin is just through the roof.
So what's funny about this is Brian Armstrong, who we played off the first clip off of this, again, CEO of Coinbase, he quote tweeted this earlier today being like, yo, we've unlocked Kevin Durant's account. So I guess it's got all sorted, but very funny that we have a story like this, and then it gets no news and highlighted, and then instead of Kevin Durant like connecting to support himself, I guess this is the way this is the way that things ended up happening. It's crazy. Love to see it. So Ethereum made this post, and there was a response from D saying, wow, it only took Ethereum a decade to recognize there might be an alt culture on their chain. And the post from Ethereum here on X saying, White Rabbit Anime won an Emmy for innovation in emerging media. The project was crowdfunded and collectively produced on Ethereum. Ethereum is for Emmy-winning animation. So a little bit of a rip there from these on Ethereum being like, hey, look at you guys noticing like the art scene that's been here forever. Why are you just talking about it right now? And you'll remember, if you've watched the stream for quite some time, that when I talked with Sergio on the RWA SegMints Podcast, and when the letter first came out, he's the founder, CEO, of Meebits, and he did this open letter to the Ethereum Foundation, being essentially like, hey, you guys need to be paying attention. Obviously, you're focused so much on like these DeFi platforms and everything else, but you have a huge culture of NFTs, art, and you guys just aren't, in quotes, like supporting it in a way. And we go over the letter. We go over a whole bunch of stuff again. If you want to check that out, it's the episode with Sergio or Sergito here on X. And funny to see how we can connect the dots from back then to now. Final thing that I'm going to leave you with, and then I hope you have an absolutely phenomenal weekend. FTX to distribute $1.6 billion to creditors on September 30th. So what does that mean? Is that just a potential another liquidity event on top of the 4 like major tokens that the large majority of users are potentially getting heading into Q4 on top of the 25 plus ETFs that are likely to be approved next month? September's been kind of a, just like floating along. We have some ups, we have some downs. The rate cuts have happened. What does it look like for the next several months before we wrap out 2025? I'm feeling sort of bullish. Thank you guys so much for coming on through. I'm Tolly. Appreciate you chatting as well. And I'll catch you guys on Monday. Peace.